Hey, welcome. I'm Peaceful Jam here at Peaceful Media, and I've got my illustrious guests here, Jen Davis and Alli Gannett. Got it right this time, Alli.
Mhm.
From the World Forestry Center, the Director of Marketing Communications, and so much more. Really creating the vibes of the World Forestry Center up there next to the Portland Zoo. If you haven't been there with your kids, please, please, please go check it out. It is an amazing, amazing experience. And today we're going to be looking at the results of something that we got a little ship that we pushed out to sea. What was that? Right before the break? I think it was in December.
December 11th, we launched.
Yeah, which was an extension of our conversation with Alli there at the World Forestry Center to explore what they were doing from a brand strategy and marketing communication standpoint. And we discovered through that interview, if you want to go back to it, we'll give a little card right here so you can go back to that interview. We discovered that there was a great opportunities to start using Google Grants, paid search advertising budgets, which are, if you're new to this, you're nonprofit, you're out there trying to get more traction to your website and to what you're offering. Google Grants, essentially, if you are a 501c, you are granted up to 10K a month, $10,000 per month in free, asterisk, free paid traffic. So paid search traffic. So if someone is searching for best place to take my kids in Portland on a rainy day, that would be a search term that we're using to push World Forestry Center's website to the very top of that search result. And the free asterisk part, go back to the first two sessions within this series, this double click segment series, which started with a campaign strategy call with Alli and Jen, and then a campaign build and execution going through the keyword list that we identified as the prime opportunities to use this Google Grant money as session two. Probably put some cards up here for you to click on to go check those out. And then now we're a month and a half later. We've allowed the holidays to pass through. We've gotten sick 5 times. Somebody is currently on the doorstep of feeling sick right now. So we're doing our very best. But here we are. We have about 45 days worth of data to look at. And Jen Davis is going to give us a tour of that data and help assess whether or not this is a smart strategy for World Forestry Center to continue leveraging that free Google money. So with that, Jen, would you
Yeah.
mind popping into your world of Google search, Google ads, and show us how we're doing?
Yeah, let me share my screen and I'll walk you through what we're seeing. So I have extended this date where December 11th was our launch date, and this is including today. There's not much traffic yet. Google Ads is anywhere from 3 to 5 hours behind, so don't worry about this. A little bit of a dip. It's just because today is not done. So just to remind everybody, what we did here is we created 5 campaigns. One was brand. One is about renting event space. One is for the museum. One is for family, and this is very more of the generic, what to do with my family on a rainy day type search terms. And then we did some awareness, just kind of mission values of World Forestry Center separate from brand. What we're looking at again is about that 45 days, and I've sorted this list by impressions. And Ellie, one of the first things that is nice to see in some ways is that your brand campaign has quite a few impressions. We look at 45 days, we have 638 impressions. So we know that 638 instances of searching something related to World Forestry Center brand name occurred. And of that, 209 clicked. So we have almost a 33% click-through rate. Which is great. It's actually higher than I see on most brands, for instance. Now, of course, these are people who already know you, but that's okay. We still want to engage with them, for instance. And the nice thing, as we talked about too with the Google Ads grant, is that you do have to stay above a 5% click-through rate throughout all your not each individual campaign, but our overall number, which this helps do that. So we're at an 18.5. So you are well above the requirement, which is awesome. But I want to stop and just hear from you. Like, did you think you were going to get that many searches and clicks on your brand name?
I I don't know. It doesn't surprise me the rate. Well, the ratio surprises me just because it's new to me. But I think because a lot of people, because we do so much, we are a venue, we have our museum, that there's a lot of people that might just search for us because they want to know when an event is happening, even if it's hosted by someone else. Um, so that's, I don't know. That makes me really excited. Also, it's kind of nice that that plus the rental are almost
Mhm.
the same with the
Yeah.
impressions.
Yeah, and if we think about it, this is a way to kind of quantify some of the other marketing that you're doing of, excuse me, talk about being sick, still getting over this cold. That this many people were searching in the area for you. I mean, that kind of speaks volumes to what else you've been doing, that people are actually searching you out, whether that is for events or the museum or things like that. And yeah, we probably have a little bit of a mix of the brand terms as well as the museum, which we'll talk about in a second in here. But I think this just kind of talks about, this is a known name in the area, for instance,
Hmm.
right? Exciting about that. I'm going to skip over rental for just 1 second. I want to talk about museum, which came in third. We have about 253 impressions, 57 clicks. So our click through rate is about 22 and a half, which again is amazing. Um, this kind of goes hand in hand with the brand campaign as well. So if you kind of combine these two, that they know about the museum potentially, or a little bit, or looking for a museum, we're looking at, now we're getting closer to the 1,000 impressions and closer to, 300 clicks in total. But I do like that click-through rate is extremely high, 22%. So we've got some general museum keywords in there. And actually, I'll click in a little bit.
And the
We do
goal
have the
was for
forest.
5%, right? Isn't that
The
the
goal, the click through rate, it doesn't have to be at every campaign level. It just has to be the overall account.
okay?
So, but yes, the overall account has to be 5%. We're going to have some campaigns that are probably going to be lower than that, for instance. But things like this help boost our overall, which is what we're concentrated
Mhm.
on. So yeah, if we look, we do have some forestry museum type keywords, so a little bit more. It's still non-brand, but little bit kind of in between. We do have some branded in here for the what was it? It was the train. Is that what it is? If I remember
Yeah.
correctly. Yep.
Maybe.
Discovery Museum. Oh, I think we put the train in the branded too. Then we have just general museum, for instance. So some of it is still in brand. Some of this is still kind of learning. Where we're not really showing yet, and I'll talk about this in a second, art gallery, general places to visit, and tourists. But it is January, December and January, so I don't know how many people are. I mean, I'm in Chicago. It was -7 last week, so we weren't going anywhere. So, some of this could be a little bit of seasonality to it. The other thing is, and I'll go back out, is that you'll see that overall, our average cost per click is under $2. For the account, it's $1.29. And this is a restriction to some degree that is on the Google Ads grants accounts. Typically, they don't let us bid over $2 for a click. However, we are using their bidding algorithm to get as many clicks as possible. So over time, this might actually go above two, but right now it's a little bit of a restriction. The account's new, it's still learning. So there simply could be competition out there that have a paid account that are willing to pay more than $2 that we just can't compete with yet. So, but I do expect that to kind of change over time.
That doesn't surprise me on the art. There's a lot of like main art museums and art galleries in
Sure.
Portland.
Mhm.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, so if we look at like, yeah, art gallery, general places to visit, tourists, and again, some of that might be a little bit of seasonality, but even Portland, like, struggling impressions as well as clicks. But again, we're paying $1.88 there, so that tells me there is competition in that space that is willing and able to spend more than the $2. Over time, though, because we're using the bidding algorithm, it actually can spend more than the average cost per click. If I was doing, they call it manual bidding, which we're not doing, it would restrict it. But it just needs time to get to there. Let's talk about rental because rental comes in just below brand, 627 impressions. Our average click is $1.61, so that's telling me there's some competition there as well. So we have a 5% click-through rate here, just over 5, so 33 clicks. So when I look at this, when I'm working with clients that are not-for-profits and we're looking at a click-through rate for something that is ultimately a purchase of a consumer or another business entity, 5% or above is considered excellent. So I'm super excited about this. Be great if we can get some more impressions, but I like the number here so far. Where we're getting the majority is simply venue in general, like, outdoor venue to rent, wedding, hall. We see a little bit of outdoor. Again, that might be a little bit of seasonal. Event space. We did milestones like birthdays, graduations, those types of things. Just general room, party, and what we call other. So, but the majority of this is coming from venue and wedding in particular. And again, we can see our kind of average cost per click, $1.50, $1.75 here. So again, some competition in that space. But if we look at our individual, like for venue, it's 5.43 as a click-through rate, and wedding, 8.4. So as we get more impressions, that click-through rate may go down a little bit, but it may not. And if we can generate just as many clicks, but get this, double this impression, we basically double your clicks as well. Yeah. Now let's go into, yes.
Can I interject something here real quick?
Yeah.
So Jen, I know you know this well. Alli, when it comes to this sending paid traffic and monitoring what's getting clicks, and ultimately, when we're able to come back around and see the tracking and reporting, like who actually filled this out and what turned into revenue, you're going to start to see that there's a lot of energy and heat around certain keyword groups like this, like wedding, for instance, high click-through rate. That's a really valuable click. And so when you start to associate that value to the user's experience, this person is searching for a wedding venue. And so what will happen over time, your strategy will morph and your execution of this will morph such that you build custom landing pages that are specific to that keyword group, right? And so now this whole experience is about showing, selling, and promoting what it's like to have a wedding here at the World Forestry Center. And when people experience that, you're going to get a higher conversion rate. And you're going to hire, like when they do get on the horn with you or whoever's does event booking, they're going to be a little bit more pre-sold on the concept because they have that vision of their own wedding in their heads. Yeah. So this is where, I guess what I'm trying to say in summary is that as you look at these stats, it can help strategically dictate what you guys are investing in when it comes to the website and the landing page experiences. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's really helpful too, because especially as I kind of really take the ownership over our advertisement, this will help. Like maybe I don't put in as much effort or money into other paid ads as I do for the weddings because of that return.
Right.
It's really helpful.
Furthermore, let's go a little nerdier with the digital marketing strategy. So yes, Google Grant is giving you these free ad dollars. Like all of these clicks were no cost to the nonprofit, right? So now what you do when you talk about repurposing your ad budget, here's probably where we'll end up going with you is retargeting campaigns. Are you familiar with retargeting? Okay, cool. So this is the creepy part of digital marketing and advertising. For better or worse, everything is pixeled, everything is tracked. So let's take Jen Davis is in Chicago. She's searching for a Portland wedding venue. You pop up. She clicks that ad and says, "Oh, that is a wildly different experience than my environment here in Chicago, and how fabulous. Oh, there's just an ode and a poem to trees and forests and our connection to marriage. And that is part of our love story. And I can imagine a better place than to haul the families over to Portland, Oregon for the World Forestry Center wedding here in August, right? And but life happens. Jen Davis is like looking at that page, totally excited. And then like a phone call comes in, husband's like, burps, says, Jen, what are we making for dinner? And she's like, dang it, I'll come back to this. But she doesn't, because she's got 1,000 tabs open on her browser. And, there's all sorts of other opportunities to explore wedding venues. Okay. So that's this common scenario. There's 95% of the people who are hitting that landing page are not going to fill out the form because of whatever. They have an objection. They aren't sure. You haven't, answered some of their key questions. Maybe the page is too generic and it doesn't have like the specifics that Jen Davis is looking for, right? So she isn't sold enough to even fill out her contact information. But we know that she has gone from the general audience, right? The general demographic of people out there in the world to, I am interested in a wedding venue that's connected to forests and trees and maybe Portland, Oregon, right? So this becomes, we call this middle of funnel or bottom of funnel, depending on how committed she is to this idea of doing the wedding at World Forestry Center. And bottom of funnel is, as you can imagine, a far more valuable visitor to your website, far more valuable, because we've isolated their desire and what they want out of this experience with you, right? And so that becomes the worthwhile investment with your advertising. And the mechanism for reaching back out to Jen Davis, in this case, is through a retargeting campaign. Now, retargeting campaigns can be deployed on any of your platforms. For instance, you might want the next time Jen Davis goes on Instagram to see a reel ad, REEL ad, that just shows like the glory, the full visual experience of what it's like to have a wedding at World Forestry Center, right? And now I'm like, oh, I'm really getting the excited vibes. I can really imagine our wedding there, because now I'm in like a completely different experience of this. I'm watching videos, I'm watching people, real people. And I don't remember seeing that on the website or the landing page. And that just, they even have packages laid out here. Oh, cool. Like, I'm going to go explore this again. She clicks on that ad and comes back to the page even more sold. Right. And so now she has finally got all the details that she needed, inspiration she needed, desire she needed to be able to get over that hump of filling out the contact form and doing that very vulnerable thing of saying, yeah, I'm interested in spending money with you, right? And now you've spent, so what you were currently spending on top of funnel advertising, which is just boosting a post on Instagram and saying, whatevs, like everybody out there in Portland, whether or not wherever you're at on the awareness cycle, instead of doing that brand awareness type of campaign to top of funnel, now you're using that money in a much higher return on ad spend format, which is the retargeting campaigns that follow Jen Davis around for as long as you specify.
Yeah.
So, and it's not just one reel, right? And it's also not just one format. We could have your display ad, which is another Google, option, right? A display ad that just has pictures or headlines or details that you think would assuage someone's concerns or overcome objections at this point in their decision-making journey, right? So those display ads could be over on the knot,
Hmm.
right? They could be over on, you could put those on a website, another website that's completely dedicated to exploring their wedding venues and wedding ideas. You could even have that on Pinterest, like, where people are building their wedding boards. Like, the whole slew of digital landscape becomes available to you to continue to be top of mind and answer those questions that Jen Davis needs to get answered before she can make the commitment.
Yeah, that's freaky. But amazing too, because that helps to actually put a lot of like value and help build that relationship if the person actually
Right.
does see the ad so many times, comes, and they feel like they're part of it too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah, I
I'm
think
sure if we had your events salesperson or whatever on this call, I'm sure he or she would say, or they would say, yeah, it's so much easier when they've had a
Mhm.
chance to get this multimedia 724 touch points with our brand and this particular service or offering. It's so much easier to just kind of close that deal than someone who's coming in supremely unaware,
Yeah.
at top of funnel contact inquiry. It's like, this is what commonly happens with people who are on screen like this, right? Is now they have a relationship with us. They've heard our voices. The authority, know, like, trust piece is already there, and so way easier to have a conversation with a prospect like that than it is to kind of start from scratch in the rapport building. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
anyways, I'll pass it back to you, Jen.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. There's some stat out there that says currently it takes 20 touch points to convert a person into a customer, for instance. So
Mhm.
whether that's email, Google ads, Facebook posts, Instagram, and those are for the higher end purchases, not the need to have type things, which obviously something like a rental might be a little bit less for the museum and things like that, or even, the art gallery and things like that. But obviously, in events where you're having a momentous occasion, like a wedding, for instance, could take a lot of touch points. And just to Jam's point of just, reminding them, hey, we're still here. Don't forget about us as you're looking at other stuff. All right, a couple more areas. So family. So here, a little bit less impressions. Only one click. You can see our average cost per click is $1.94, which tells me a lot more competition here. It's also, we're trying to go after outdoor, which it was January, so not as much volume. Let me sort this by impressions. But like places, for instance, this is where we're starting to see the most volume, best places to go with family and things like that. I think this is going to take time. We are at a time when kids are in school, for instance. It is also cold out, so maybe some more indoor activities than necessarily outdoor activities. And again, I'm guessing we probably see some higher competition here based on that average cost per click. Um, so, and things like outdoor, the surprising one was a little bit of indoor, not really getting a lot, actually no impressions. But again, I don't know, other than weekends, I don't know how much people are trying to get outdoor or, even leave the house this point. Like I said, Chicago is -7. We didn't
Mhm.
leave the house. So it's, I think we've got some seasonality playing into this as well. And
And the
then finally,
holidays too.
yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, everybody's calming down from the holidays, trying to get back into the routine, the cold, things like that. Now, we're just a little bit of a mixed bag here. This is not something I expected to explode, but we just want to make sure that things are out there about mission and value and things and sustainable forestry. So you can see a couple of impressions, a couple of clicks. I wasn't expecting a lot out of this. If we had everybody in the United States that was worried about sustainable forestry, then you may not even exist because everybody would be doing it. So,
Mhm.
this is a little bit more of that awareness game and just making sure we get the mission and value out there for those people who are looking for it. It's just unfortunate that there's not a ton. Okay, one thing I do want to share with you as as Jam had mentioned, is I'm going to make a modification to my columns here, is that we don't have like conversion tracking on the like the forums and things. But Google does provide us, and what I'm really super excited about, and Jam, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but I'm gonna break this down. We do have something called store visits. Now, this doesn't happen super often, but it was exciting to see it. What store visits are is it's not something that is readily available. It is based on if you're an advertiser with Google and somebody has searched on their mobile phone for you, have found an ad, clicked on it, and then have ultimately gone to your place, which it knows based on your Google My Business, for instance, it can label it as a store visit. So we know that from your brand, for instance, we had two people that did a mobile search, found the ad, and then ultimately came to the location. Same we see with rental, for instance. Now, why this is so special is this doesn't happen too often. You need a certain number of impressions, you need a certain number of visits because Google does work on anonymous aggregate information. It doesn't want one person to search and one person to show up, for instance, and have that. So I expect this to grow over time as long as the number of visitors continues to grow. And I'm assuming as we get into more of spring and summer, that could even happen. So I was super excited that it kind of just gets randomly opened up on an account. So I
Yeah.
was excited to see that happened.
Sorry, that might be the
Yes.
most like one of the most helpful ways to see that conversion rate, especially within the museum.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and maybe not so much the rentals, but then again, if I see that, well, we see that like, four people saw it, one person showed up, and when you asked them, they said they saw it on Google and they booked it, you know, that's
Yeah.
pretty convincing that that's the lead.
Yes, that is a good dotted line from Google Ads to a
Yeah.
customer, basically. Yeah. Other things we also do see, which also comes from the Google My Business connection with Google Ads, is people looking for directions. Um, Other engagements could be they called, they clicked on hours, for instance. Website visits is ultimately they looked at the ad, they saw the ad, they saw the Google My Business, they actually came over and visited. So, a couple and here's the thing, the person who looked for directions could also be the one that did the store visit as well. So it may
Mhm.
be the same person, it could be two different people. We unfortunately don't know. But it looks like we've got people looking for directions. They're engaging in some way, whether that is like the hours or something like that, as well as ultimately visiting the website, even outside of the ad. But they're seeing the ad, they're seeing Google My Business, and ultimately visiting the website in the areas of brand, rental, and museum. So
That's
what will be nice is to look for this store visit to see if that continues to grow. So we had a total of three, and not everybody searches on their mobile phone, so that's the key to this. But so many people do, so it's just a matter of how many search, engage with the ad, and then ultimately come to the location. So I
There
was
was also
excited
a
about
weird
this.
there was also a weird hiccup with our Google Business location. It had our address right, but the location put us all the way out in Malala. So,
Interesting.
yeah, that was my hurdle with Google yesterday. But now that if people look for it, they actually see where we're located. So hopefully that will be
Awesome.
helpful.
Yes. Yes, it's always helpful when Google can actually direct people to the right location.
To the right
So,
place, yeah.
so what questions do you have?
I think it was really helpful for you to show me the areas to really look at because it's one of those things where it's like so much information, it's overwhelming and not really sure what is like a good metric or like getting that kind of pulse of like, you know, 5% actually for rentals is a really good high click through rate. So that's really helpful to just kind of know and set that baseline of like what does it mean when an ad is doing good? What does it mean when it's not doing good? And what do I look at in order to kind of tell um that difference? So this has just been really helpful just to like look through it
Mhm.
Um, I think a question that I would have is like, what do you recommend? Because I could see people getting, and myself getting like really obsessed with this. Um, what is your kind of recommended glance at it once a month, glance at it once a quarter, or what's that like rhythm that you would recommend someone like me who has multiple things on my plate all the time? So which I'm like very appreciative that you did all of the like labor to get it to this point. Um yeah, what is a good cadence I think for checking this metric?
I think what I would suggest is a little bit of go with your seasonality. So if it's a little bit of a lull time right now because it is winter, maybe it's something that you're looking at once every 3 to 4 weeks. But when you're getting into like summertime or high rental time or something like that, it might be worth to go in here just every week, just to make sure that things are kind of running smoothly and that you're not missing out on opportunities. Making sure, I mean, we only spent just under 400. We have 10,000. There's still room to grow. Some of this is just about history and time. So, and as well as seasonality to the center. So this will grow over time. So, we have budgets set, for instance, at $500 a day. It's not getting near that. Now, if it does, that might be something that you want to up and make sure that you're getting that volume. So I would kind of go with a little bit of the seasonality of the center, or when you have like a large event, like an art gallery event or something that you want more people to come, just pop in here and make sure you've got some room in the budget. If you've got anything specific about the art gallery, the event, for instance, you can pop in some keywords like an artist name or something like that,
Mm,
and really focus on kind of those times versus the day to day. It's going to run, and you don't have to do a lot to it. But I would just make sure that during the high volume, high season, that you're looking at it a little bit more frequently. Again, every 1 to 2 weeks, depending on your seasonality.
would you walk me through like especially that art exhibit that is a great example. So how would I go about making that edit and like adding the keyword search?
Yeah, so it's really a matter of like clicking into things. So I'm going to go into the art gallery, and then here you find the keywords. You just hit this little plus
Oh.
symbol, and you can simply add keywords. You can actually put in information like if you have a particular page for that, if you've got information about the artist or something, you can put it in, and Google will actually give you some ideas. Like it's already giving me some ideas based on its kind of forestry and art. It may not be appropriate, so I wouldn't just do add all ideas, for instance, but there is
Mhm.
a possibility that some of these could be good. But it's just a matter of just typing this in and then hitting save.
Cool. I'm gonna definitely do that because I do know that especially as we add new events, that's really helpful. Like we have a forest pub series, so having
Mm,
that on here within, I guess it would probably be museum, although it's technically like a yeah.
yeah, I think we've got museum kind of as the overall come to see us kind of thing, outside of family activities. So
Mhm.
definitely, I would say this. I mean, it's not to say that you couldn't create another campaign, for instance,
Yeah.
but probably good to do that. And other things you'll see, like as you kind of mouse over, you see like little pencils. If I wanted to change the name of this, if I wanted to change this budget, I just hit that pencil and then update the budget, for instance. Those are probably the only two things that you could do here. And then you're kind of going into clicking on these. And again, not much you can do here with names, but then you can go into it and look at keywords, for instance. The only
Mm.
weird part is now, in order to see the ads, you kind of have to go over and click on it in the navigation, for instance. But again, you've got an edit button here. You can go in and again, it'll give you some chat GPT type suggestions, for instance. It'll tell you what your ad strength is, maybe give you some ideas. Like you could actually click on more ideas. It'll tell you what your
Mm.
headlines are. It can tell you if you want to include more, if you want to just grab something from what you already have, for instance. You can change the URL to go to a different page. All of that is available right here. And it's really just, click and type. I think the only thing I will say is that just remember it goes campaign, ad group, keywords, ads. So your highest level that you're looking at is campaign. When you click into that, then you're into an ad group. Once you click that, you're into keywords, and then you just have to hop over to ads. There's no
Okay.
like click down into it.
Lest your left brain melts down. um, can I look ahead to the future with you here?
Yeah.
Because I have some recommendations for 2025 that extend upon all this newfound traffic that you're opening up and helps you make sure you're capitalizing on that free traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's go nerdy again. Okay.
Oh, geez.
You understand all of this HTML, right?
Yeah.
I'm totally playing with you.
I used to build Xango websites. I know.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So for those who aren't initiated, we're just looking at basically what Google looks at. Just looking at your code. It's you can see right here. This is your SEO. You're using WordPress, which is awesome. WordPress has a nice plugin called Yoast for SEO, and you have a lot of your basics here, telling Google and other platforms such as Meta or Facebook, this is what the site is. If I were just to distill one or two things or three things about what this is and what we're intending to do in this world, this is it. And I'm not going to do like a super deep dive on SEO here, but I will suggest that there is room for improvement with how you're communicating to those platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And to the part that extends off of what Jen Davis just did there is that first of all, you know what your initiatives are, right? You know what you want to get more activity around, whether it's museum, wedding venue, event venue, event rental, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So you know what those initiatives are. Now it's a matter of you as the marketer, as the marketing team, to communicate that to the search engines. And right now it's missing any of those initiatives in places that really matter, which is on your homepage, the title of your site, the keywords that you're telling Google and others, this is what we are, is World Forestry Center with a dash in front of it. You're more than that, right? You want to be known as the place where keyword, right? So event rental, Portland, we can break this down at a really granular level, but you want to be telling Google in the title and the meta description, which is totally missing right now.
Yeah.
The meta description that, hey, this is the keywords that we want you to send traffic to, right? And furthermore, the more that's connected, Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that more that description, the text that's on this page is connected to the ads and the ad groups and the keywords that we're trying to rank for. The more that's connected, the higher your quality score. The more Google trusts that this is a proper destination, an appropriate destination for that search traffic. Because ultimately, if they're sending people to places where they go, oh, this isn't what I was looking for, then Google's doing a bad job and Google loses money. And Google doesn't like to lose money, right? So they want people to click on that ad, have a great experience, get what they wanted, so that you spend more money on their ads, right? And so that people continue using Google to find the answers they're searching for. So that's the SEO piece of this.
Yeah, and I think that was the second part too of that we populated all of those keyword searches and then being able to plug those into the SEO. So it's really helpful to kind of see that back end and almost see that the language that the two platforms are talking to.
So here's the thing. You're going to be using your initiatives to drive that keyword implementation, but you're also going to use the conversion tracking, the data that we're going to be able to receive over the course of a year of running the search traffic will tell you which keyword searches actually drive revenue, right? And once you have that information, you come back around from an SEO perspective and you say, let's get more of that traffic organically, right? Let's not just rely on Google grants. Let's build a keyword strategy and implementation strategy so that we're over time replacing. And then this is particularly helpful for keywords that you're struggling to get clicks on because it's too expensive with a Google grant.
Right.
Or if you're a for-profit and you don't have the Google grants, it's particularly useful because every dollar you save in Google ads, because you're getting the traffic organically, is more money in your bank account, right? So use that. But key point here, asterisk on that whole thing I just said, is that if you don't have the tracking and reporting on what's converting and what's turning from click to dollars, then you can't tell that story to yourself, and therefore you're kind of working blindly. Right. This is very, very common in the digital marketing space. Because we don't know what we don't know, and we don't have the data and tracking to help tell the story, then we're just kind of like doing things. We're just throwing spaghetti at the wall when it comes to our website and our branding and our marketing communications and our advertising. It's just kind of like, yeah, advertising's good, so I'm going to do something. And Facebook and Instagram have made it so dang easy that, because advertising is good, I'm going to give them money because they just created that nice big blue button that says boost, boost post, right? And so we want to get out of, over time, we want to get out of the spaghetti noodle throwing at walls marketing and get into the data-driven marketing, right? Which is look at the feedback loops, build, measure, learn, build, measure, learn, keep going through that loop. And so the second thing, so one is SEO. We're going to go on a 3-part journey here. One is a 4-part journey. One is SEO. 2 is making sure that you have conversion tracking and some kind of report that gets sent to you in a nice, clean PDF. It goes to your executive director. It goes to you. It says, this is how many conversions we're getting from that paid traffic, or in general, and not just from paid traffic, but from organic traffic, from Facebook, from social, from YouTube. This is where our conversions are coming, and this is how it correlates with our efforts as a marketing team, as a marketing department, right? So 2 is setting up conversion tracking. We talked about this prior to jumping on the recording. And that's a matter of getting into GA4, your Google Analytics, and setting up, events that are tracked to filling out forms, visiting key pages. Like it's a micro conversion to do this right here. Okay. Our campus. Interesting. Okay. Oh, they do facility and event rentals. This is a micro conversion. They've expressed interest, right? This is raising their hands and saying, I am interested in an event, right? Now, the next conversion in this journey is, inquire about renting or schedule a tour. Great, clicking this. And the penultimate conversion is filling out this form. Yeah. And then the ultimate is booking, converting on, here's my credit card, here's my check, right? So we need to go into Google Analytics and make sure that customer journey is tracked as key events in that journey. And that's what feeds back to your reports when you're looking at the end of the month. How well did we do from a digital marketing perspective? Does that make sense? Yeah. It's also key with the next thing I'm going to say, which is leg 3 of your journey here. And you could just say, this quarter I'm doing one, this quarter I'm doing the next, and this third quarter I'm doing this. Yep. Because all of these are work. We need to think about the traffic that you're driving to this page. We talked about this a little bit earlier. So correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, this is the page to which you're sending a wedding venue ads, right? The search traffic.
Correct.
Yeah. So let's pretend, Jen Davis, you're looking for a great wedding venue. What's your experience here?
Doesn't look like a wedding venue.
Yeah, that would be my first thing. Also, I mean, an open house though, I like the idea of that for an open house. But as somebody in Chicago, it doesn't mean a lot to me. I think if you scroll down, Jam, I'd be most interested in the video because I want to see the place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what if we use this masthead to answer that question, which is mostly a visual decision
Mm-hmm.
diamond, right? Right now, I'm getting some sense of it, but it's kind of a confusing experience. There's a lot going on. We got this background image. So there's just some, like, we call this conversion rate optimization. Get inside the heads of your visitors, think about their intent, think about what they want out of this information, and how do we get out of our own way and help them make that
Mm-hmm.
decision to fill out the form, to go on the next step of their journey. And yes, so then we're even looking at, okay, cool. So this person's looking for a wedding venue. Am I going to play this video and see pretty immediately that, oh, I can imagine myself having a wedding here,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if it's a minute in, I scrubbed through this while you guys are chatting. If it's a minute in before I even see a wedding, then I'm out. Like, it's too hard for me to imagine a wedding venue in some of these conference halls with a bunch of people around tables, right? So then we go, okay, okay, do they actually do weddings? By this time, I'm 3 scrolls down. I'm lost.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really lost. We haven't done a good job of telling the story and making that value proposition to Jen Davis, the wedding venue searcher. It is down here, but even this isn't doing enough to.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, I would make a case that it's deterring someone from taking action.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm being totally blunt, is I don't want these lampposts in
Mm-hmm.
my wedding pictures, and this is a wedding picture, right? And so, not that you can do anything about that. The lampposts aren't going anywhere, but it is important, that first glance, that first impression.
Totally.
I need to understand, what is this? How is this different than a park that has a gazebo or an arbor in the front? How are my guests experiencing this when there's lampposts? Anyways, you get my point.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is going to eventually, when you develop the sort of CRO aspect of building landing pages that are specific to that click, you're going to see your conversion rates skyrocket.
Yeah.
You're going to get more return on ad spend, which is free right now, but ultimately, like, all that revenue is free money, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's totally profitable. And the fourth thing, it's setting up those retargeting campaigns, right? Yeah. Now you're like, okay, now I understand that I can continue advertising really profitably to the people who have expressed interest in this thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so the retargeting campaign would be, let's only go to people who've taken all the steps except for this one, mm-hmm. which is to fill out the form. And when we have that tracking in place, it's easy for us to trigger those ad campaigns to begin and end. Mm-hmm. They've hit this page, but they haven't taken the full step of filling out the form. Great. For the next 30 days, I'm comfortable showing you ads that are just about our event space. Some are with weddings, some are with conferences, some are with retreats, some are with whatever, birthdays. I mean, you name it. Now you have what you need to go and create creative that isn't just about posting into the black hole of organic social media. Mm-hmm. It's an evergreen asset that is continuing to get people back to this decision and finally fill out that form.
Yeah.
So there's your 4 phases for 2025.
That's great.
Yeah. And chat with we'll show this episode to your executive director, and then, maybe it's a compelling enough pitch to, take some of the extra revenue that's going to be coming through and start plugging in some of these holes over the 2025, right? So that's that. I think we're at the top of the hour. Is there any other questions or?
This is so helpful. Just having extensions in areas that I didn't really understand or know, especially because it's
Mhm.
so new, and learning about it through doing it is really helpful.
I'll speak on behalf of Peaceful Media. We're super happy and enthusiastic about supporting you guys. We love you. I
Yeah.
really appreciate you joining us for the podcast and saying yes to that, and letting us into your, professional home,
Mhm.
and the vulnerability that it takes to say, "Hey, I don't know this part," like, and that's going to be okay, because
Mhm.
like we just understand where the gaps are,
Yeah,
and where you're going to need support eventually. So,
exactly. Yep. Well, I
all
really
right,
appreciate it.
Allie, I hope I'm sending you blessings and hopes that none of the illness that you think is swirling around you right now enters the places in your body that say yes to illness, and sending you lots of positive vibes from the whole clan here at Peaceful Media.
Thank you.
And we'll, of course, see you soon.
Perfect.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us for this double click segment with Alli Gannett and Jen Davis, and myself, Peaceful Jam at Peaceful Media. Until we see you next time, remember to love more, play more, and do more good. Peace.